All right, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr. This is an Inside Sports production of Dogz, where we take a look at Major League Baseball with a focus on our hometown Dodgers here. And, of course, everybody knows I do not do this show by myself. This is Inside Sports. We're changing the world one sport at a time, but I do need help here. So I've enlisted one of the best, none other than Mike Gabriel of MikedUpRadio.com. You can follow him on Twitter at MikedUpRadio.com. So without further ado, due to the miracle of Google Voice and modern communications, here he is from an undisclosed location in Southern California, where he works tirelessly on baseball and breaking down the Dodgers. Any of you who saw Moneyball, that's him. He's like that, just locked in a room, just figuring out facts and figures. And we got some tough questions coming up for him. So, Mr. Mike, what's happening out there, man?
I feel like that show on one of those networks, some guru guy was out in a room and you asked him questions and he knew every single question.
You mean Stump the Schwab?
Yeah, these sports geeks tried to get him and try to answer the questions, but the Schwab, man, you can never beat the Schwab.
Yeah, he was good. He was very, very good. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's get right into it first. We're talking, of course, baseball. We're talking Dodger baseball. Let's go ahead and get to it with Dodger Blue. And now I'm going to put you on the spot here. Last week, you kind of had to talk yourself off the ledge because I asked you. I said, what would you say to a Dodger fan who was ready to throw in the towel? And then, you know, you went through it and everything. You kind of talked yourself off the ledge. And now here we got the trade deadline approaching. Dodgers made a big move, though. They got Hanley Ramirez, added him to the lineup. Your analysis, just off the bat there.
Well, it started out very good on the road trip. I said it was kind of a do-or-die type road trip, a 10-game road trip that you're going to see three pretty good teams. You go into New York, you beat the Mets, you play very good in the series, you win all 3 games out there. You go into St. Louis feeling good about yourself, you win the first game, you've won 4 games in a row, you're feeling good. And then you lose the next 3 games in St. Louis. That's kind of the typical way the Dodgers season has gone so far, especially in St. Louis. That's one of their biggest nemesis is the St. Louis Cardinals. And the game today was just awful. They put up a 4th spot in the 5th inning. They come back. St. Louis puts a 4th spot to take a 2-run lead. So it was a mess of 3 games. The last 3 games were kind of ugly. Now, saying that, they got 3 games left. It could be a very, very bad road trip. It could be a very good road trip, or it can be an okay road trip. It matters how the next 3 games go. Oh, my God, are you kidding me? These next 3 games in San Francisco are humongous, humongous. We are at the end of July, and I know we're not there yet. We're not at that point where you've got to win games, but my goodness, if there's a series that's bigger than anything, it's this series coming up in San Francisco. You're down 3 games. You've done it to yourself. There's games that you should have won that you didn't win. You're down 3 games. You have 3 games against San Francisco. You have to win that series. Even if you lose the series, you lose the game. If you win the series, you're still down 2 games. So it's very, very big. You mentioned Hanley Ramirez. The Dodgers acquired him a couple days ago for Nathan Eovaldi, one of my favorite players that I saw in the last about year and a half. He came up last year. He looked great. This year he looks good. He's got a nice, live, young arm. Gets to about 96, 97. Nice breaking ball. Nice changeup. The kid is very, very raw. He reminded me a lot of Clayton Kershaw on the other side. The kid, I think, is going to be very bright. He's got a very, very bright future. You got to give up something to get something. Now, in getting something, in Hanley Ramirez, this guy in 2008, 2007, 2009, 2010, the guy was batting an average at bat. He was batting .320 in those 4 years, putting up ridiculous numbers, 30 home runs, 100 RBI years. This kid's talent is unbelievable. The ceiling on this kid is unreal. And he could be a top 5 type player in the league. So when you get rid of a Nathan Eovaldi and a minor leaguer for a guy like Hanley Ramirez, who just needs a change of scenery, a guy who just needs to get out of Miami, a guy who probably needs to get away from Ozzie Guillen, it's a fantastic trade by Stan Kasten and the group. They've done a remarkable job getting Hanley out here in LA, and it's a huge trade. Is it what they need? Absolutely. I've mentioned on the show many times that he needs something in the corner. Corner's been awful with Juan Uribe and the rest of the guys. He is the guy for you till 2014. Hopefully you resign him after that. But it's a remarkable trade. A guy who's going to do a lot of good things for the Dodgers.
Well, you know what? And you look at Hanley, though, you say taking a little bit of a dip this year, batting .249, 14 home runs, 49 ribbies so far. But even looking at that, though, let's look at the Dodgers when you talked about them being a little bit inconsistent. And I'm going to ask you, as a great baseball mind that you are, to put this into perspective. When you look at the streakiness of the team through July, they win 3, they lose 3, they win 1, they lose 4, they win 5, they lose 3. What's going on there?
Oh man, it's a team that you can't compare to a powerhouse type club. So you're going to win in different ways every game. Your pitching's going to show up one time, your pitching won't show up another game. Your offense will show up, your offense won't show up. So they're very inconsistent throughout the year. Early on in the year, the pitching was phenomenal. It was keeping them in games, and you got the 2-1 victories, the 3-1 victories, the 1-run type wins. Now, pitching kind of fell apart a little bit. Capuano looked horrible today. Bullpen didn't look as good. They gave up 17 hits today. That's a huge number. You can't give that up as a pitching staff when you're known for your pitching. Your offense isn't. This offense will not carry this team. Even with Hanley Ramirez, they still need a little bit more help with the bat. So that's what it is. To answer your question, they're not a powerhouse type team. They're not the Yankees. They're not a team where on any given day they're going to score 4 or 5 runs for you. When the pitching knows that you're going to get maybe 2 runs, hopefully 3 runs, these guys are on edge. You've got to put up zeros, on in each inning. So, that's how I answer that. I mean, it's tough. You don't really know what you're getting, night in and night out.
And that's one of the things I talk about, and especially with the young pitching staff is, one is when you look at the runs, and that's the inner workings of baseball. And I think one of the reasons why you love the game as much as you do, aside from the fact that you play it, but you see those types of things, and that is how much run support are pitchers getting. Also, when if your catcher can hold runners or not, too. As you're developing as a pitcher, if that guy gets on first base and you have to constantly be looking over your shoulder as to whether or not he's going to steal on you because the catcher doesn't really have the arm to throw him out, that's going to affect your development as well. But all those tiny little things. Now, let's get into a little bit more baseball, though. When we look at the trade deadline coming up, big move, as they normally do, the Yankees. Ichiro going to the Yankees, and we talked about this kind of in pre-production. Forget the price tag on Ichiro for where he's going to bat with the Yankees. They were talking about him being the most highly paid number 8 hitter there ever was, but he gives them exactly what they need. And when you look at his versatility, you look at what he can do, what he brings to the lineup, they've got a part where they can insert exactly, anywhere they need it. I think it's a great move by the Yanks there.
I mean, Ichiro on any team is a great move. For the Yankees to land Ichiro, a guy who's hit over 2,500 hits in his career, but to do it so quietly, the Yankees. That's why the Yankees are the most superior team. And I don't care if you like them. I don't care if you hate them. And there's plenty of fans and baseball people that can't stand the Yankees. You know why? Because they're great, and greatness brings hate. Just like the Lakers. There's people all over the world that can't stand the Lakers because they're great. The Red Wings because they're great. So those teams are superior. And what the Yankees did anybody think or know that Ichiro was on the market or was going to get traded? No, the Yankees kept things quiet. Everything was intact. Nobody let anything out, and they trade him for 2 lower-level prospects. Sure, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, but the Yankees don't care about prospects. The Yankees don't care about a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. They want a guy to win a title this year, and Ichiro is that guy who can help them win a title this year. I mean, he gets them a little bit closer to that goal. So the Yankees are the Yankees. The Yankees are always going to be the Yankees.
That's something I like, too, and when you look at just teams having goals, it's one of those, do you want to be a playoff team every year, or do you want to actually win the championship every year? Or, well, you can't do it every year, but, be a serious contender? Or do you just want to be a playoff team? And that's one of those things, and that's what I've never liked the Yankees either, but you just got to love when they make a move like this. And it's true, it may cost them, X millions of dollars, but the bottom line is if you either hang a banner or you don't at the end of the year. They only give out one banner every year. That's it. So you got to do what you can, and when you're in a window where it's your turn to win, when you have a chance, you got to do what you got to do. And if they win the World Series, it's money well spent. Even if they just make it to the World Series, it's still money well spent.
Going into training camp for teams like the Yankees, there's one goal, Charles. That's it. There's one goal. That's to win a World Series.
Yes.
Anything less than that, they're not happy. The city isn't happy. The fans aren't happy. The organization isn't happy. The players aren't happy. Nobody is happy. You can be a strike away from winning it. And we were right there. We were right. We're going to get them next year. No, we lost, and we are pissed. So, look, their thinking is we want to win this year. Ichiro isn't locked up for next year, but we want to win this year. Can Ichiro help us win this year? Absolutely. Well, let's go out and get him.
And, I just wanted to say this was one big difference when you look at the signings and you look at the money that's paid. This is one of those things where I really, I really disagreed years back when A-Rod was playing for the Rangers, and they were losing. They were finishing not even anywhere close to the playoffs, but they got one guy they're paying, $25 million a year to. That is a misuse of the money, but if you got one guy you can pay that money to and get that championship, you got to go ahead and do that. And, speaking of signings, how about, Cole Hamels? He gets rewarded with, a little extension, big payday from the Phillies.
Is that what you call a reward? Is that what that is?
Sure.
$6 million, 6 years, $144 million to a guy who hasn't won more than 15 games. I mean, really?
Well, you know what? And I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Remember, I'm going to go back a few years, go back into the mid-'90s when I remember when the Dodgers, I think they locked up Darren Dreifert at, what was it, $11 million a year?
Five years, $55 million, yeah, $11 million. That's right.
Yeah.
Look, Cole Hamels is great. Cole Hamels is a great player. He's a great pitcher. He's got a great left arm. He's the face of a franchise type guy. He's clean cut. He's just a good guy. Watch the press conference when he signed. Obviously very excited. Blah blah blah. San Diego guy. Actually wanted to come out here and play for either the Angels or the Dodgers. But how do you say no to $144 million? Yeah. He asked for another $20 million. He got it. He got his way. He's in Philadelphia. Charles, what scares me is he's a pitcher. Pitchers who sign over $100 million, and, it's a proven fact. Those guys just don't make it anymore. You go to Kevin Brown, you go to Johan Santana. I mean, the list goes on with guys like that. Look, Cole Hamels is a 3.4 ERA career guy. 3.4. It's good. It's not bad. He started really pitching in 2010. The last 3 years, he really started to get into his own here. But, man, I mean, for a pitcher to sign that big of a deal, to get out there and play every 5 days, and to get, that kind of money, to me, I stick back from him. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, you could sign 3 really good players for that kind of money and play every day, night in and night out, and fill your team with some pretty damn good talent. But you're paying a guy, you're locking up that kind of money to a pitcher. Really scares me. Well,
I tell you, I think with pitching though, here's another element when you get to pitchers, and that is you got, maybe they think that Hamels, forget the regular season, is he a big time guy when it comes to the playoffs? Because there's been a lot of pitchers who were great regular season pitchers, but come playoff time they just were not anything special. So maybe that's what they're saying is they think Cole Hamels is one of those special guys who can be lights out if the Phillies ever make it to the postseason again.
Right, and he was. He obviously he did well last year, the year before. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, okay, I get it. You're a big time pitcher in the postseason. You do well in the regular season, but how much money are you able to spend in the off season when that guy's contract kicks in next year? So, you still got to pay Utley, you still got to pay Howard, you still got these guys. You have to pay Hunter Pence. You still have to pay. They're trying to unload now. So, you got to kind of get creative now in the off season. Now, Philly spends money, there's no doubt. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd lock up that much money in a pitcher.
Right.
I'm not. Take the Dodgers for example. Hiroki Kuroda was making $13 million last year. They let him go because he won the same amount of money. They picked up Chris Capuano and Aaron Harang for the same amount of money, and you get two pretty good quality pitchers. Capuano under 3 ERA, Harang at like 3.84 ERA, who's been very serviceable. He had a great start last night. So, that's my point. I mean, you can get two very good pitchers, a position player, for that kind of money on the open market all day long. So I'm sure they're big fans of Cole Hamels. They know exactly who Cole Hamels is. He's a good guy. They wouldn't have signed him if he was, a bad guy on, outside the field. But
right.
My goodness, that's a ton of money that I'd probably stay away from.
Yeah, I'm a good guy too. So
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on my first million.
When are you going to get your reward then?
You know what? It's like this. Cole Hamels gets $144 million, but I get to do this show with you. That's my reward right there.
You know
and
what?
That's worth more than $100 million, man.
Then it's priceless. My man, that's what I'm talking about.
All right. Well,
so you know what? I got to be honest, though. I'd take $144 million to not do this show.
I might. $150 million probably.
Right. I'll just be honest.
Okay, so you know what? But how about the Dodgers? What are they? You say big trip coming up here, and then they got to play the Diamondbacks too. Let's not forget about them, as they're kind of breathing down the Dodgers' necks a little bit. Frisco's out in front, 55 and 43 right now. Dodgers 53 and 47. But the D-backs 49 and 49, right at 500, but within striking distance.
They're in an area and a situation right now that GMs and owners is very difficult to manage as to what to do with the trade deadline. The D-backs. I think that team could probably be a little bit different come the 30th and the 31st when they come to town in LA. I think that team is probably going to sell. I don't think they believe in that team too much. I think they've got issues in that locker room. I think Upton is kind of causing things in that locker room. The D-backs really aren't that scary of a team. They got a couple pitchers on that staff. But look, you've got to take care of business. When you play your division, you're on the road. You just got to go into San Francisco. You've got to win those games. At worst case, you got to come back and win 2 of those games in San Francisco. You come back against the D-backs. You play the Cubs, who aren't very good. You play the Rockies, who aren't very good. You go up to Miami, who's not very good. You get Pittsburgh, and they're playing some pretty good baseball, along with the Braves, and then the Giants again at home. It's a soft schedule in August. The
Right.
Dodgers need to really take advantage of this schedule in August. So, but it starts tomorrow. It starts against Matt Cain tomorrow in San Francisco. You gotta just make it happen. You know what I love the most is Hanley Ramirez gets traded at probably the perfect time to play the San Francisco Giants. For the first time on the road, not at home. He's gonna find out exactly what being an LA Dodger is all about, and I am gonna love it, because if he gets a big hit or hits a home run or something, fans are gonna hate him, and I think he's gonna love it, and I think he's gonna fit kind of right in with this team. The dude couldn't stop smiling last night in St. Louis. I think he's ecstatic to be here. I think look, it starts tomorrow. Big series tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
There we go. And, so it's about finished up. We covered everything. Dodgers, the division, National League, talked about the Yankees a little bit. There's only one thing left here, and that's what everybody wants. We got to have Mike Gabriel and the MikedUpRadio.com rant. We got to have the rant. I want some Dwight Howard, man. What you got on Dwight Howard for me, homie?
You mean which Dwight Howard is this? Is this his sister or is this his daughter? Which Dwight Howard are we talking about?
I finally learned how to pronounce his name. I was saying Heward and Dwight Hughes, I think, the week before that. But yeah, I think he's a basketball player.
It's bad news for the Orlando Magic and their fans. Dwight Howard does not want to be associated with the Orlando Magic anymore. New GM flew out to LA this week. He was here yesterday, flew in, saw Dwight Howard. wanted to rekindle their relationship that they never had. He comes in, Dwight Howard looks at him and says, I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with Orlando. I want nothing to do with the Magic. Trade me now. I won't sign another contract with you. Best case scenario, you trade me to the Lakers. Worst case scenario, you trade me to the New Jersey Nets after January 25th, because legally that's the only thing they can do if they want Lopez in return. So, look, they are now, you talk about a team who has no leverage. Now that everybody knows that Orlando Magic have no choice but to unleash Dwight Howard as a GM, and you still got to put the pieces together to make sense, of course, financially and everything else. But my goodness, I mean, they have to be desperate to trade this guy.
Let me ask you this.
Let
me ask you this, though. Okay, now they're obviously, look at what Dwight Howard's, with everything going on, they probably will not get the same market value that they would have had no one known that he wanted out of Orlando like this. So, who knows? What, are we going to have an instance where maybe Stern comes in and blocks the trade? Like we had last year? He says, no, that's not fair. Is the commission going to have to step in, like last year when he voided the trade, to the Lakers? Is he going to have to step in and force teams to give Orlando their just desserts when they trade Dwight Howard? Do you think something like that, is that a possible scenario?
I think it was a different scenario last year, only because I'm going to take David Stern's back a little bit here.
Okay.
The New Orleans Hornets were for sale last year, so I think it was a little bit different. Of course, the NBA took over the Hornets, so they wanted to make, and it made sense when he came out and said that, I don't think all of this, remember now, David Stern is an attorney, so he knows how to speak, he knows how to talk, he knows how to put words together, and it made sense when he said, there's a new owner coming to place, let him make the decisions, meaning we don't want a huge payroll for the Hornets, a $60, $70 million payroll, $50, $60 million payroll. We're going to have a $25, $30, $35 million payroll. Let the new owner come in place, give him draft picks, let him start over, and let him make the decisions. And, that makes sense. I mean, it really did. It made a lot of sense. But in this situation, I don't think he'd come close to vetoing this thing. I think he learned his lesson. I think, he got plenty of death threats telling him to go fly away, So I don't think so. I think if something happens, they put something together in a three-way deal some way. It's going to happen, and it's three things. You got three scenarios now. You got the Lakers before January 25th. You got the New Jersey Nets after January 25th. If he stays with Orlando and becomes a cancer in that locker room, which I don't think can happen because Orlando wants something for him, but in case he does, there's no doubt that he will be a Dallas Maverick at the end of the year, and in summer 2013 he will sign with them because they have enough cap room, and he would land in Dallas. As simple as that. So, it's a crazy situation again. I think we're going to probably keep talking about it for the next few weeks at least.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad to see that, because Howard, if he's still a member of the Magic when the season opens, that's just going to be ugly. And any time, people are going to be just looking at him and scrutinizing him every single game when it looks like he may have only given, 98.5% in a game or something. Is he going to just tank it with the Magic? He's going to wind up on the bench like maybe a mini version of the Stephon Marbury thing, even though he's obviously not going to be on the payroll that long. But is it going to reach the point maybe in Orlando where you've got the Magic playing, and they're going to say flat out, you know what, win, lose, or draw, we're doing it without you. That's it. And that would be a little bit humiliating to have the big guy sitting on the bench through, maybe 20 games before before January.
There's no doubt it's going to cause a lot of scrutiny for all sides. Magic side, you'll have people on everybody's side. Dwight's side, Magic side. It would absolutely turn into an absolute mess. That Magic team isn't going anywhere right now with that existing roster with Dwight Howard on it.
Right,
so
exactly.
He knows that they're not going to win right now with or without him. So, look, if he stays in the Magic jersey, like you said at the beginning of the year, and it's very possible that can happen, it absolutely will turn ugly. But remember, he had back surgery, so he probably won't be ready to even start the year. He'd probably be out for the first couple of weeks at least. So, Maybe between that he gets dealt, who knows? But there's no doubt that their number one goal is to trade Dwight Howard, and that's their number one goal now, especially after meeting him yesterday.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well put. And you know what? We're just about out of time. So any final words for all the folks out there? Mr. Gabriel, sir.
Absolutely. You know, like I mentioned, tomorrow's a big day for the Dodgers. You go into a soft August schedule. You should win 20 of those games. You should. I'm not sure if they will, but you should. The Dodgers still looking for more talent out there. They're still looking for an arm, and I think they'd land Ryan Dempster by Tuesday. Okay. And they're looking for another position player. I think Shane Victorino would make a ton of sense if you can get him, only because the leadoff spot for the Dodgers all season long has been awful. They've been last in on-base percentage as a leadoff spot. That is awful. When you got guys who are behind you, and Mark Ellis, Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, and now Hanley Ramirez, you have got to get on base as a leadoff guy. If you can't, you're just not going to score any runs. So that's big. Look for that. And and one more thing, Charles. There's a show called The Franchise. It's on Showtime. It is the greatest reality show of all time. It is actual reality because it takes place in the last week of the season. They're following the Miami Marlins right now. Last year, they followed the Giants. This year, the Marlins. It is unbelievable TV. Behind the scenes of when they made a trade for Omar Infante and Anibal Sanchez to Detroit. They put a little bit of Hanley Ramirez's trade in that this last episode. It's awesome. It's real TV. It's real. It's nothing is blown. Nothing is I mean, it's you talking about R-rated. It is awesome, and it's none of this. You know, it's none of this Kardashian BS. I mean, you're getting Ozzie Guillen wide open, and it's phenomenal TV. If you like baseball, you'll love it. It's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. If you don't like baseball, you will still love it. It is great, great, great TV. Kudos to Showtime, and kudos to Major League Baseball.
All right, I'll have to check that out. And, you know, we're going to have to go ahead and check out right now, and we'll be back right after the trade deadline next week. We'll be doing the show live, as we do every week, on Ustream at 7 o'clock Pacific time every Wednesday night. So for Mike Gabriel, I'm Charles E. Smith, Jr. This is an Inside Sports production of Dodger Dogz. And remember, here at Inside Sports, we are changing the world one sport at a time. Follow on Twitter at The Inside Sports. Also follow Mike Gabriel on Twitter at MikedUpRadio.com, or go ahead and check out his website, MikedUpRadio.com. In any case, make sure you join us every week, and all the shows, of course, are archived on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. Thanks to everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week.